out. Get our bot in here. Check my volume levels. Percent out. Good. And get the Discord taken care of. So, hello everyone, this is Chris Ingerson, and it is January 29th, and this is the January 29th TextQuest Devstream. So, today we are going to be working on loading screens. Specifically, we're going to be working on the loading screen for transitioning from the castle sewers to the plains. It is not a crazy complicated one, but it is probably going to be one that we have to take a different approach uh, from previous animations, just because of. I say it's not complex, but it is something that is going to require a bit of post processing. So it's probably going to be a weird camera setup that we have to do. Um, so what we're going to do to get started is go ahead and we're going to open up our UI, and I'm going to grab my loading view. Minigame area. This is not needed right now, so we're going to go ahead and let that go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and normally I would say I was going to duplicate this, but I think because our approach is going to be so different, I don't think I actually want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and just make a new child object. Go ahead and set that up. We're going to call this loading animation dash sewer to plains. So this is a loading screen that will happen when you get to the end of the sewer level and you start transitioning into the plains level. So it'll be after you touch that magic seal. We're going to go ahead and create a root object. Call that root. And let's go ahead and create our script for this. So we're going to go ahead and say create C# script. We're going to say sewer to plains loading animation with a capital A because we're not savages. Okay. And once that's done, we'll go ahead and open this up. That's going to take a second, and while that's going on, I'm going to take a drink. And I guess I should probably say that we're going to be doing coding today. And a little bit of art. Or maybe design. I don't know which would be. It's technically all of those things. So I'm going to take the design out. Alright. So this is going to go into the TextQuest namespace. Assuming that it. Let's grab it. And then we're going to say loading animation. I believe we want. Here, hold on. I thought I had like a base loading animation. It's just called loading screen animation. Okay. There we go. We're going to go ahead and save that. And we need to implement our. I always forget how to do this. I think it's that. Come on, work with me here. There we go. So we'll get rid of this. All right. So for this setup, my intention is to basically have a kind of spiral design. So I want the basically it's going to be a picture of like the hero as if they're falling away from the camera, and they're going to be rotating while that's happening. I would like to have a little bit of an after image effect on the label as well, which will be interesting because that could probably be done with post processing, but I don't know how to do that. So I'm going to fake it. And that's pretty much going to be it. Like it's a pretty simple concept of just the character moving away and rotating. But we're going to try to make that work in an interesting way, I guess. So we're going to need a couple of things. Um, so how do I want to handle this? Um, so the easiest thing to do, I guess, would be to have a regular transform with some cameras underneath it. This is going to be super awkward. Let's see if I can get this to work right. Of course, it has to compile first. You can't rush it. You understand. If you rush it, then it'll just get all confused and it won't compile correctly. Jeez, what is up with that loading time? It should not be that bad. Okay, so I want this to be a regular transform, and then I'm gonna put this down here and see if it. Okay, good. It doesn't affect it or anything. I could probably scale it. Let's position it. And the reason that I want it to be a regular transform instead of a rect transform is because I'm going to need some 3D movement here. I mean, I don't really want to do that with rect transforms. I could in theory, but I'd prefer not to. And just out of curiosity, I've never actually. Okay, yeah. So creating child objects will be fine. Okay, so this is going to be like. How do I want to put this? So we're going to start with. I guess I can call these. I'm just going to call this the room. I don't really know what else to call it. So there are a few things that we want to do for this to look right. First up, we're going to need some cameras. Specifically, I think we're going to need 2 cameras. I'm going to need 1 camera to render the hero that will show up here, which will pretty much just be this. So it's not a UI. It's going to be a 3D object, actually. It's going to be a TextMesh Pro text. It's going to take some time for it to load because I haven't looked at a TextMesh Pro label yet. So that's going to be our hero, and they're just going to do that basic rotation. But you know what? Maybe it would be better if I did part of this. Okay, I think I know what I'm going to do. Wow, TextMesh Pro. Really? Okay, well, TextMesh Pro is apparently thinking really hard about what it wants to do with its life. There we go. So I'm going to get rid of this TextMesh Pro object because we don't need it there. Instead, what I'm going to try to do is something similar to how we have the gamma correction set up, where we have a separate camera looking at something and it's going to apply post-processing to it. So that's going to be this. I'm going to go ahead and create a camera. It's not going to have an audio listener. It's not going to have a flare layer. It is going to just clear to a solid black. It is orthographic, I guess. Okay, I guess we might as well use perspective. Turn off and allow MSA, blah, 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 blah. We don't really care about this. Let's go ahead and set that to be a far clip of 10. It does not need to be that big. And, okay. So what we're going to have this render is, we're going to go ahead and create, thinking. There are a couple of ways that I could handle this. The easiest thing would be for me to cheat and to right. Say these aren't set up to use the correct layer. All right. So this is going to also use. It's only going to look at UI because if we have it look at anything else, it could potentially go wrong. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We are going to need some a render texture. We're going to go ahead and call this sewer to plains background. We are going to set the size. It can probably be pretty low. Well, I'm going to do 120 or 128. Sorry, 1280 by 720, which is perhaps too big. I probably should make that smaller. Do I want to have that? 640 by what? 360. About there. That's pretty good. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and hook this up to our camera. Okay, and in addition to that, that should be good. So let's go ahead and I'm going to create, this is going to be super weird. Trying to think of the best way I can handle this. So I kind of want to do a magic effect similar to, say, the walls that I have pop up in the castle when there's magic. And that's essentially just like alternating rows that say magic that just alternate the direction that they move in, kind of like a zigzag pattern. I would like to have that in the background, and then we'll have our hero kind of fall into that. And in addition to that, I'm going to do like a little twirl effect in the middle to make it look like it's kind of warping in on itself. So for that, we are going to need an actual 3D object, which I guess I can go ahead and say create. Let's see. We're looking at. You know what? I might just cheat. Let's go ahead and say castle. Castle magic. That's probably going to be better. Look up magic. Here we are. Magic wall. So this is the throne door. It is a prefab, and I don't need part of it, so I'm going to go ahead and put this right here. Let's go ahead and say F on this. Let's get rid of the sector region source. Get rid of the box collider. We don't need any of that. We are going to need the magic wall. This is what I was a little afraid of, because I'm going to have a substance inside of a loading screen, which is not great. I'm going to have to ensure that it is basically loaded. That's just going to be super awkward. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to say position is equal to 0. Come back over to here. We're going to do a rotation of 90 degrees. That should be good. Got the hiccups. Let's take a look at our camera. Oh, right. It's probably not under the right layer. UI. Really? Interesting. Why can't you see it? Well, this is interesting. It's in the correct layer. It's within the camera frustum calling of it. We should be able to see something here, but we can't. Oh, isn't that interesting? Maybe it's being rendered out to here. Actually, there it is. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and lock that. We're going to kind of move things around so that we can try to make the... Oh, okay, fun. Yeah. I'm just going to kind of try to slide this around. Let's go to about there, do about there, do about there. Okay, let's go just a little bit back. Just a little bit up and a little bit over. Okay, I just want to try to like cut off the tops and bottoms here. So I think we want to go just a smidge forward a little bit. Okay, just a smidge forward a little bit. There we go. Perfect. All right, so that's going to be our little technique to get that going. We do have, let's go ahead and unlock this. I am not scrolling this. I am going to want to do that. So let's go ahead and add a material scroll. Okay, this is going to be a single direction. It will be the shared. It might as well, so I don't have to create more of them. The scroll map will be the main texture, and the direction is going to be just like 0.1. I'm going to say that might be too fast, honestly. Okay, so that's that, and that's our background. So on top of that, we're going to need to do some twirl. And this is going to be interesting because I'm not really sure what to do here without a preview. So this is going to be fun. It's going to be really hard for me to actually look at, so I'm probably going to cheat. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add an inspector tab down here. We're going to go ahead and go down to, of course, our planes. I'm going to lock this, and I'm going to come back to here, and then I'm going to do this. So now I can kind of adjust all of them. It's going to be a little hard because I can't do this like all at once. Okay, so this is what it looks like at 0. Oh, good. Damn it. We were so close, Unity. Why? I really just want to look at this. So if we get to about 180, I think that is the maximum, the point at which it reaches kind of like a maximum. But we don't necessarily, so we basically want to go from 0 to like 180 over time. And actually, we probably don't even want to go to there. We probably want to go stop at like 120-ish, because I think well, let's go to this. Let's also increase our radius a bit, so 0.5, 0.5, I'm going to say. Something like that is pretty good. We could actually probably go to 0.75, 0.75. Maybe we should go to 0.6, 0.6. Okay, I like that. So that's going to be in our background, and that means that, so that was just to set up kind of our background effect. So now we're going to go ahead and create our actual background, which is going to be a raw image. So we're going to need to go ahead and say right-click, UI, raw image, which will load this. And we will go ahead and have this be stretched. And it's probably not going to show up very well when we're first starting out, which is okay. Loading bar, all that's fine. Okay, so this is our raw image, which I'm always frustrated with it not actually showing up, and what the frig happened there. Okay then, that's super weird, whatever. So we have our raw image here, this is going to be our background. And we're just going to project based off of that. And then we need to have our actual hero show up. So we're going to go ahead and say, so background's going to be its own thing. Then on top of that, we're going to have foreground. Okay. And in there, we are going to have a TextMesh Pro text object. This is going to be our hero, which obviously needs to be correctly positioned. Let's go ahead and do this. We have our 8-bit font. Okay. We're going to set that color to be, it's white for now, I guess. All this is fine. Let's go ahead and hit F. I want to focus on this. We're going to have this be centered and put at the bottom. Let's go ahead and adjust our height. I'm guessing a height of 200. Oh, and a pivot of 0. Y. 150. A width of 50-ish. That's pretty good. Okay. So this is going to be our hero. And here's where it gets kind of fun, because in order to keep with our aesthetic that we've set up for our loading screens, everything needs to be kind of a little jittery. Some things can be smooth, like the background is probably going to be a smooth transition for the twirl effect. But our hero is going to move more, not analog, more, what's the correct term? Mechanically, I guess. Think like a Mr. Game & Watch type situation where it's moving in distinct frames instead of interpolating between frames. And for that, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this hero, single out the scale, zero them out. I'm going to put it directly below this hero. We're going to have a position of 0, which is not what it should be doing. That is very interesting. Really? With my pivot of... That doesn't make sense. Am I mistaken? I could have sworn that the pivot of child transforms was relative to the pivot of the parent transforms, not to their center. Perhaps I need to change the anchor. Oh, the anchors are the problem. Yeah, duh. So this should be something more like 0.50, 0.50. There we go. So we're gonna probably keep this as just hero 1 for now. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rotate it by let's go negative 45. That might be too much. No, we want it to be a clockwise rotation, so we'll do 45. Then we're going to go ahead and duplicate this. It's going to be a rotation of 90, 0, 0, 0. Oh, sorry, 1, 1, 1. So this is where it does get a little iffy in the sense of how we want to handle this. I'm going to have to mask out parts of them, but not necessarily all of them. Unless I want to really cheat, which would involve offsetting them, and I don't really want to do that. So I'm actually going to cheat just a little bit. We are going to set our second one to have an alpha of, I'm going to say like something like 200-ish. Our third one will have an alpha of 150. Let's go ahead and duplicate this. We're going to say, what is that? That's 135, 111, with an alpha of 100. And then by the end, we're going to have an alpha of 180 by, 111, an alpha of 50. I think that's pretty good. So we're going down by increments of about 50. I could probably add one more just so that it doesn't look lopsided. And we're going to go ahead and rotate this by 225, 111. Let's go ahead and set this at 25. And we'll do one more at 270, 111. I might do some shuffling here. So we'll go from 200 to 150 to, let's do 125. To 70, oops, sorry, 75 to 50 to 25. I think that's pretty good. So this, I think, will give me the desired effect. Essentially, the goal is to have the rotation value kind of make it look like they're following it, like after image style, kind of like this. Okay, let's go ahead and set that to be 0. And now all of these are also going to be turned off. And then I am going to, do I want to scale this? I'm trying to think. Yeah, I guess. So if I scale this to like 5 by 5 by 5, with a much lower position, maybe not. Of course, then again, because of how my camera is set up, I believe I am using orthographic. Yeah, which means that but I can't really do that, which means I have to scale it. So cool. That essentially means that I want to. Oh, geez, I have the unenviable position of scaling and also rotating. Which is not great. Let me think. I'm probably gonna cheat. I'm just gonna give him a parent. Hero parent. We are going to parent the hero to them, as the name would suggest. And then I will scale the hero, but rotate the parent. That's not right. I want to rotate the hero, but scale the parent. Hold on. That might not actually matter. Ooh, hello. Oh, that's the scale. That's why. Also, that's cool. So we're going to rotate this. And if we scale this to be 5 by 5 by 5, yeah, that's not what I want. But if I scale the parent, it's probably going to look exactly the same. The trick is to get it to kind of rotate in place. I'm trying to figure out how I want to position this. Because the problem is that it's going to scale from its pivot point, which is a little further south than I would like. Let's go ahead and set this back to 1. 0 out its rotation. I'm going to turn these guys on again. And I'm going to... Let me think. How do I want to handle this? I'm going to say... I think I want to... So let's see how this looks. I guess that doesn't really work in this situation. Alright, then I'm gonna just cheat horribly and scale this like to hell and back. So we're gonna go, I'm gonna say 50. Wow, we gotta go really high. 100 by 100 by 100. Super high then. 200 by 200 by 200. And the idea is that we're just gonna scale that down while we're rotating. So we are going to let's go ahead and actually drag our script onto here. Then I'm gonna burp. We're gonna add. I'll just copy this. Copy component. Paste component as new. Let's go ahead and add our little. How do I want to do this? Audio listener. Let's go ahead and put that up here. Turn that off. Put that on here. Okay, and now we're going to need to actually set up some references here. So we're going to need mostly rect transforms now that I think about it. We're going to say serialize field, private twirl, which, okay, I was wondering if that was a thing. So we're going to go ahead and say rect transform, hero, parent, I guess. Then we're going to go ahead and say up here, using Unity engine.rendering, I think. Or is it effects? Nope, okay. It's not image effects, right? Nope. Rendering. Cool. Post-processing. Maybe. Serialize field. Private. Twirl. Dang it. Unity engine.rendering. Twirl. Okay. Where's the twirl coming from? I always forget what it's under. Twirl. You son of a... Standard assets. There we go. Okay. Private twirl. Twirl effect. I'm really mad because like a week ago I tried to basically strip out all of the old post-processing effects that I'm using. But Twirl is one that they don't have a replacement for, and Colorful, another series or another post-processing um, suite that I use, does not have a twirl effect either. So it's very infuriating that I have to have this one thing. I did get rid of everything else, but still, I'm kind of mad that I have to keep this one script. Anyway, so that's that thing. Let's see, what else do I need? I am going to need a. Actually, those two things might seriously be the one thing or the only things that I need. Um, so that's kind of funny. Uh, and also, now that I think about it, I might need to cheat and get some spinning movement on my background too. Not the twirl effect, but like actual rotation. So that might be a thing. Um, anyway, so those are our two main things. Let's go ahead and say serialize field, private. Do I want to float? Yeah, float. We'll say rotation delay is equal to 1F. Let's go ahead and tooltip that. That is time between hero rotation, I guess. That's what I'm going to call that. We're going to need, I'll do this at the bottom, serialize field. I'm going to say private. It is just going to be game objects. Game object after images is equal to new game object 0. Okay, and then I am going to say, let's see, what else do I need? Let's go ahead and come down here. We're going to need private int after image index is equal to 0. So we're going to want that. We're going to need, kind of trying to keep track of all this in my head currently. Oh, we need the scale range. So we're going to go ahead and say up here, serialize field. Yeah, okay, hold on. Using sleepy owl common. Range, max range. And we're going to say, yeah, you know what? I guess I don't really need a min-max range. Excuse me. I don't know why I have the hiccups. It's very infuriating. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and say serialize field. This is going to be private vector 2. We'll just call this scale range. It's going to be equal to new vector 2. I'm going to say we start at 200 and we work our way down to 0. At least I'd say so. That's probably fine. Yeah, that's good. Okay. And we probably want a speed, so let's go ahead and serialize field, tooltip, private, float, scale speed. That's going to be super awkward if the scaling is smooth, but the rotation is not. be scale duration is equal to, let's just do 10f total time for the hero to scale down to nothing. And that's going to have to be something that can kind of, it's going to be a little awkward because of how we have this set up, but okay, so essentially what we're going to have to do is we're going to try to scale in chunks as well as rotate in chunks, which might not work out very well. I might end up having to change how this works, but we'll see how it looks before we make any judgment calls there. Okay, I think that's pretty much everything that we need to do to set up the base. From here, we'll be able to try to get everything set up properly. Let's go ahead and let this compile. Hello, Fables Games. Welcome to the Devstream. Glad you hopped onto the channel for a bit. Well, thank you. Yeah, the avatar guy is made in Unity. He dynamically detects when I talk, and he does random poses. There are a few other features that I really want to work into him, but I've just never sat down to do so. Are you also a developer / content creator of some kind? I'm assuming just from the username. All right, so we have our hero parent right here. We have our twirl effect right here, and I'm not going to worry about the magic wall stuff for now. After images, let's go ahead and drag these on here. They do need to be in order. Thank you for the follow, by the way. So that's a 4, 5, and 6. So we want those on there. Go ahead and save. I'm a hobbyist now. Used to work as a game dev, but now I do web dev. I feel for you. I do not miss the web dev days, but hopefully you're enjoying it at least. What kind of games did you work on? Or / do you work on, I guess, since you're a hobbyist now? Alright, so we have all of this set up. Let's go ahead and turn off our heroes, because they need to be off by default. And I think everything else is working pretty well, so I'm going to go ahead. Oh, before I forget, we're going to set this twirl, okay, to be 0. And I think... Actually, you know what? Here, I forgot something. So this is going to be serialized field, private float. What do I want to call this? Twirl duration, I guess. Is equal to, I'm also going to say 10f, just kind of wildly guessing on the timings here. So it's going to be tooltip, blah, blah. It's more of a challenge than I thought, but enjoying it. That's good. Made mobile games in Unity, now I make random crap in Unity. Are you using Unity in some of your web dev, or are you focusing on the traditional CSS, HTML5, and all that? I assume that you're obviously gonna use those ones, but I wasn't sure if you were doing something like with Unity specifically, or if you just happen to do some Unity stuff with it. Okay, so this is gonna be time it takes for the background to reach maximum twirl. Okay, that should be pretty much it. I am going to some of my base functions here. We have start, fade, coroutine. Okay. So that's all we really care about. So I think we're going to do this in update then. Oof, that's going to be a fun one. So private void update React. That was going to be my second question actually, is what you were using for web dev specifically. Because I know people either like to use React or Angular or Node. Use React currently on front end. Don't do much back end right now. That's C#.net, so crossover is good. Yeah. Although I guess it's probably a bit jarring coming from Unity, just because Unity is miles behind in terms of C# implementation. Since they're still just now getting to C#4, and I think we're up to C#8 now, or are we still on C#7? I forget. Um, it's not 9, right? I'm pretty sure it's still single digits, but I forget which version we're up to now. Okay, so we're gonna say if is open, nope, is active. That's fine. I taught some bad habits to getting. Oh yeah. Wait. So when you're doing C or Unity stuff, you didn't use Link, or when you're doing web dev stuff, you don't use Link? Because I know in Unity that's a huge thing due to garbage that gets generated because Link is a horrendously inefficient set of code. It's very convenient for the coder, but it's very inconvenient for performance. In the past, for the company I worked at, that makes sense. Yeah, I've found that with web dev, garbage seems to be less of a concern, just because of how JavaScript handles a bunch of stuff. Um, Actually, this is going to be an int. This is going to be a float. So we're going to say rotation cooldown is equal to 0f. But yeah, as far as C# like in game development goes, Link is like horrendous because of all of its inefficiencies. Even though, yeah, it does suck because it's very nice to be able to convert arrays to lists, or to just grab all of the individual components from an array or a list that have specific criteria that it meets. It's very convenient, but very frustrating that you can't really use that anymore. That was one of the saddest days of my life when I learned about that, and I'm like, well, that sucks. Guess I just got to get used to doing for loops, uh, or doing for loops everywhere, I should say. So we're gonna say private float scale cooldown. That's not a great name for it, but sure. And then we're gonna go ahead and say private float twirl. Do I want to call it something other than that? I could probably call it like twirl delta, but that's fine. Is equal to 0f. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and say oof, oof. Actually, yeah, okay. So we're gonna say if twirl cooldown is less than 1f, then we're gonna say twirl cooldown plus equals time dot delta time divided by twirl duration. Oh, no bother. I like talking with people, but I will try to do my best to keep you entertained. We're mostly doing code stuff today, so I apologize. You will see some visuals a little bit later on if you stick around for a bit, but it's going to be a lot of upfront code and then a lot of tweaking after the fact. But okay, so this is going to be where we set up our twirl, and what we're going to do with that is we are going. Oh, you know what? That is another thing that I need. So we're going to come up here. We're going to say serialized field, private vector 2. I'm going to call this the twirl range. Is equal to new vector 2, not twirled range, twirl range. And this is going to be from 0f to, I think we determined 150-ish was good. No worries, I follow the Twitter as well for that if I want to see it in action. Ah, well, thank you very much. I don't remember if I have my. Yeah, as I say, you might follow my personal Twitter on there because I post more frequently there. But yeah, thank you for the support. All right, so we have our cooldown actually being calculated, but now we want to go ahead and say our twirl. What did I call it? I'll call it twirl. Twirl effect. That's what it was. Twirl effect dot angle, I think is what it is going to be equal to mathf.lerp from our twirl range dot x to our twirl range dot y based on. We're going to make it linear to start just because that'll give us a chance to see it in action. Probably I'll come back in a little bit later and add curves. But for now, we're going to go ahead and just make it linear and say twirl cooldown. Twirl that's a terrible name because it's not a cooldown. So let's go ahead and go to the next spot. So this should take care of adjusting our twirl effect as the menu opens. We are going to go ahead and say up here, we're going to override, I want to say start minigame. We're going to call base.start minigame. And in all of that time, we're going to go ahead and start with like after image index is equal to 0. Rotation cooldown is equal to 0f. Basically just reset everything. Scale cooldown is equal to 0f. Twirl cooldown is equal to 0f. Okay, that way we always will start with the same starting point. It won't kind of like persist, which would look terrible. Not that it really matters because you can't really go back to the castle, but if I wasn't careful, you could start a new game and then you'd see everything broken. So you gotta always make sure that your code's clean and cleans up after itself. So we have that. That's our twirling. Next, we need to handle our rotation. So we're going to go ahead and say if, so this is going to be rotation cooldown is less than or equal to 0f. This is actually a cooldown, so that's an appropriate name. We're going to go ahead and say rotation cooldown plus equals rotation delay. Man, I am just all over the place with my naming. I have delays, durations, cooldowns. All right, so once we do that, we're going to go ahead and before I forget, it's a solid thing. So we have 8 angles. That's what I kind of went for. We have the 4 cardinal directions and then the 4 non-cardinal angles. And that means that we need a rotation value of, I believe, 22.5 degrees. So I'm just going to make that a magic number. Normally I would put that up in the inspector, but it doesn't really matter because it's hard set. So we're just going to go ahead. Actually, you know what? I'm going to calculate that dynamically just as a convenience. So we're going to go up here and say, that way in case I want to do different after images, I can. And we're just going to say, it's going to be a float, so we're going to put it after this. We're going to say private float. We're going to say rotation delta is equal to 0f by start. Yeah, I almost made it a magic number, but I didn't. So I was just going to plug in like, 22.5f down here, but I think it'll be better if I calculate this on start. And instead I just say, let's see, rotation delta is going to be, yeah. So we're just going to come down here and we're going to say rotation delta, not delay, delta is equal to, we're going to say 360f divided by the after images dot length. And we actually do want it to be after images dot length and not length minus 1 because we also want to include our primary one. So if we have, oh wait, actually, you know what? No, it's going to be plus 1, isn't it? I got that backwards. Okay. So that should, oh, and because I always get screwed, I'm going to use my parentheses because if you don't use parentheses, then somehow it always gets evaluated the wrong way. And that's because multiplication and division is evaluated before addition and subtraction. So make sure that that's in there. So that should automatically calculate our rotation delta, so I'm not going to just magic number it anymore. And that means that we can come down here, and we're just going to go ahead and say, oh, no, I do have that. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and say hero parent dot local rotation is, oh, man. Okay, I guess I can do that. No. Let me think. I don't want to say plus equals because I hate doing that on quaternions. I hate dealing with quaternions when I'm not just using constructors for them. Blah. Quaternions are a nightmare. So instead, I'm kind of going to cheat. And I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to say private int rotation index is equal to 0. So we're just going to go ahead and say local rotation is equal to quaternion dot Euler angles. And we are going to say new vector 3, 0, 0, and here's where it gets good. We're going to say rotation index times rotation delta. And that should basically get it to our correct value. And before I do anything else, we are going to want to come up here and say rotation index plus plus, and then we're just going to go ahead and say if rotation index is greater than, so this is going to be 8, but if it's going to be greater than our, what's it called? After images, there we go. After images dot length. Yeah, we're going to set rotation index is going to get set back to 0, basically. Because it should be basically 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then if it's greater than 7, which would be 8, that would be back at 0, so we might as well just keep doing that. So that should keep this with our correct values. Now we need to handle scaling. So we're going to go ahead and say if, not rotation, scale cooldown is less than or equal to 0f. That's what we want. We're going to go ahead and this is also where it gets fun. I'm going to need something similar to rotation delta here, where I'm going to need to say like scale delta. So let's come up to here, and we're going to say private float scale delta is equal to 0f. So here we're going to go ahead and say scale delta is equal to I guess it would be, I think, scale range dot y minus scale range dot x divided by after images dot length plus 1. Images dot length plus 1. I'm pretty sure that's correct. Wait, no, that's nothing. That is an arbitrary value, actually. So hold on. This needs to come up to here, and we're just going to go ahead and set that. We're going to go up to here, and I guess I'm going to make this an int. So we're going to go ahead and just say serialize field private int scale steps. This is going to be a terrible name. We're going to set that to arbitrary 10. Again, those are just numbers that I'm kind of throwing out there because I don't actually know what I want. Tooltip, we're going to do that. And this is going to be the number of times the hero is scaled per loop. Okay. So this is going to be that divided by scale steps. And that should get us the amount that we want to adjust the scale by every time we do a step of it. So this is going to be somewhat interesting. No. You know what? No. No. Oh, man. No. We're going to change that. We're not going to use a scale delta for now. I'm not going to do hard set snapping for the scaling. I'm going to try to do a smooth, excuse me, a smooth interpolation from the max to the min. It might look a little jarring because our rotation is going to be by steps, but our scaling is going to be smooth, and that might not work. In fact, I'm pretty convinced that it won't, but I'm still going to try it. So scale cooldown is actually a bit of a misnomer. We don't want it to be that. Similar to twirl cooldown. I'm going to rename this and instead call this like twirl. I don't know what else to call it. Lerp. There we go. Twirl lerp. There we go. Scale lerp. Same thing. Okay. And it's not going to be if scale lerp is less than or equal to 0 anymore. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to say if scale lerp is less than or equal, it's just less than 1f. We're going to go ahead and say hero parent dot local scale is equal to vector 3. No, we're just going to say new vector 3. That's going to be mathf dot lerp from, and I'm just going to cheat again and do this. We're here. We're going to say float scale is equal to mathf.lerp from scale range.x to scale range.y based on scale lerp. Again, it's going to be a linear lerp for now. We'll adjust curves later on. We're going to come up to here. We're going to say scale lerp plus equals time dot delta time divided by scale duration. Okay, that should handle it. So we're just going to say scale, scale, scale. Okay, I am reasonably confident that this should do everything that we want in terms of our rotation. It's not going to look super pretty yet, but it should work. Oh, you know what? No, it's not going to work yet. I need to enable my objects. So we're going to go ahead and say right about here. We're going to say if what did I call it? Something index, after image index, vector 1 times scale to new. That is true. That would probably be about the same performance-wise. The only reason that I didn't do that is because it would be multiplying in addition to it, but I guess I'm constructing it either way. Well, I actually don't know. They're probably similar performance-wise, but I know that vector 3.1 creates a new vector 3, which is what this is doing, and then multiplying it by the scale that I've calculated also applies a multiplication overhead to that. Again, that's tiny, but I think this is actually a little bit more performant. I could be wrong, though. I'm kind of just talking out of what I know. I could also not know that for a fact. But yeah, that would also work. So we're going to say if after image index is less than our after images length, then we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to say after image index plus plus, but we're going to do that after we say after images of after image index dot set active true. Okay. That should properly turn our objects on. So I think we'll be good there. So I'm gonna plug in any other things that I need to do, and then I'm gonna make this a prefab and see if we can get it to play nice and see what it looks like in motion. Because I think it's gonna work. I think. But it might be a little weird. Actually, no, it should be fine. It's a small thing. I like the look. No, that's true. Your way is definitely much more pleasing aesthetically. And code aesthetics are quite important. It's the reason why I try to lay out my code the way I do. I like to put serialized field, and I like to use the same line for attributes if possible. I used to do separate lines for attributes, and that got really cluttered real fast. And I used to not really serialize fields at all. I used to do public fields, but coding standards change. Hiccups. Okay. All this is in there. Oh, shoot. Okay, so I was mistaken. I forgot that I left out the top right for our rotation, which means I can't use after images .length as an accurate value. So instead I need to come up here and I just have to say serialize field private int rotation steps is equal to 8 by default. Tooltip, the number of times the hero is rotated. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and come back down here. I'm going to say after images are going to be, we're going to change this to that. Let's go ahead and grab after images again. So that's still good. That's still good. I guess I only needed it for that one spot. Okay. So let's go ahead and save that. different to mine using the underscore to prefix private and protected. That is also something that I have considered, um, but I use underscore for very specific types of variables, namely variables that are not meant to be. Basically, I use them for caching variables, kinda. Like if they're meant to be cached once and then never used again, I'll use underscores. But I generally don't like using dot underscore because it's harder to type. I feel. Um, well, I don't use underscore and then camel case just because I feel like it's harder to type dot underscore than it is to type like dot r because you have to hold down shift to use the underscore. But that's obviously like a programmer debate. um, because everyone has different coding standards for that sort of thing. Okay, so we have this set up. Let's go ahead now and I want to set this to 1 just to see it, and then I want to set that to 0. Okay, it's not interactable, it doesn't block raycast, blah, 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 blah. That's all good. Okay, let's try this and just see what happens. Let's go ahead and turn off our root here. We will go ahead and keep that. Let's drag this into our prefabs. Let's delete that. Actually, there's no real reason for me to delete that. Let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go to our loading animations. We're going to need to add a new one. So we're going to make this 9. And this is going to be from our sewers to our plains, which are somewhere around here. There we go. I'm not doing that already, I'm pretty sure. So let's go ahead and collapse all of these just to be sure. All right, so this is going to go for the plains, and it is going to load in loading animation Seward Plains. Okay. All right, let's see if this looks right, which is going to involve me going to the sewers, and I'm just going to cheat and jump right in there. So we're going to go ahead and jump over here to sewers. Have to be rude and leave, though. It's 1 a.m. here in the UK. The European time zone always gets me. All right, well, thanks for stopping by. Hopefully I'll get to see you again sometime. I try to do streaming on the weekend so that European viewers can get a little bit of an easier break there, because I know it gets super late over there when I do my dev stream, but hopefully I get a chance to see you again. So thanks for stopping by. Have a good night. All right, so we're going to jump in here, and then I'm going to just kind of fly through the level and solve it real quick, and we'll exit to see what happens. Reasonably confident it should work. We'll find out. Okay. Just kind of gonna no clip through all this. Rawr. Oh, that's right. It gets smaller. I was gonna say, like, I feel like it's smaller than it. No, it gets smaller as you turn this on. Okay. Let's see what happens here. Oh, come on. Did you not spawn it, or did you spawn it and you're just not showing it? Ah, come on, man. Why not? I don't understand. Why is the root not? Hold on. Can this group? Oh, yeah, no, I guess that does make sense. Hold on. We're gonna come back down here. I might have made a mistake. I did. Okay. I forgot that these are not like my menus in the sense that I don't turn the root on and off because the root is just an alpha thing. So we're gonna go ahead and save that, and now we're gonna run through the level and do it again. And it would probably be easier if I just made a save file that I could load up, but so let's see. So we're just gonna go ahead and say SOS clip, fly through here. Say turn left. Whoop! I spelled that wrong apparently. Turn left. There we go. Rotate. Rotate. Okay. Let's try this. Gotta do something about that, not crazy. Okay, doing pretty well there. I think we have our rotation. Wow. Okay. Rotation got borked or something happened. Um, yeah, we do have our that's all expected. Okay, interesting. So, like anything useful here? Or are you just mad that there's two audio listeners in the scene? You're just mad that there's two audio listeners in the scene. Huh. Curious. So we didn't rotation cooldown plus equals rotation. Oh, of course. Duh. It's because I forgot one very basic thing. When you're doing cooldowns, it's important to actually subtract from them. So I need to say rotation cooldown minus equals time dot delta time divided by rotation. I also did that completely wrong. Time dot delta time, I guess, is actually what I want. Yeah, that should be right. Is there anything else I need to do before I do something stupid and make myself look like an idiot again? Well, this is all correct. This is all correct. If my scale lerp is actually greater than 0, I'm going to go ahead and say else. Oops. We'll say scale lerp is equal to 0f. I think is what I want to say. Because if it gets all the way to 1, I actually do want it to restart so that it constantly looks like it's rotating. Or that sort of looks like it's constantly falling, I guess would be the way to say that, instead of having to just like go off into the distance. So let's try that. That should do it. Okay. Let's go ahead and play. I have reasonable confidence. Third time's the charm, after all. Let's see here. Ah, backwards this time. Okay. Okay, so we're rotating this time, which is good. Oof. Yeah, we gotta really apply a curve to that scaling because obviously as it gets smaller, it scales so fast that it's worthless to look at. Okay, so we're gonna do that. Let's go ahead and come down to here. We're just gonna say serialize field tooltip. We're gonna say private animation curve. We'll call the scale curve is equal to animation curve dot ease in out 0f 0f 1f 1f. This is going to be curve to evaluate scaling along for the hero along. Okay, and that means we're going to come down here and instead of saying scalar, instead of this, we're going to say this is equal to scale curve dot evaluate based on scale lerp. Okay. Let's go ahead and let that compile. Then we will be able to adjust that curve here. I think what we're going to want is an ease out curve. We don't really need so much an ease in. In fact, it's probably going to be counterintuitive if we do that. So we probably want it to be just like a linear in, ease out, which is convenient because that's a preset curve that Unity has, and we can just use that. I don't think we'll need to tweak it too much based on that, but it should be a little bit better once we do that. So this is what we want essentially, like a logarithmic curve. I think that will do what we want. So let's go ahead and let that go and try this again. Because our scaling was happening basically so fast once the hero was within view that it was actually kind of hard to properly see it. So let's see and fly away. Turn left. So it's no clip. Aha. Touch. And let's see. Yeah, there we go. That's much better. It's still too extreme though. So real quick, freaking there. So I'm gonna come up here. I want to adjust this curve. This is gonna be a pain to do. Okay, minigame area. So I'm gonna adjust this so that it's even further, kind of like this. Yes, cat. I see you, cat. Also rotating backwards, aren't I? Yeah, it needs to rotate in the other direction. Otherwise it looks wrong. Okay, so that's that. I'm also going to increase, I'm going to say the scale duration to like 20. That might be enough to give us a little bit of a bump. Oof, that curve has really got to go. Okay, now that's problematic. Dang, it's actually gotten. Oof. So yeah, that's problematic. There's a limit to how useful curves can be with it. I guess I could apply keyframing. That would probably help a little bit. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. We are going to come up here and we are going to say for our rotation, we actually want this to be negative, I guess, for this value. Because I forget that rotation is always counterclockwise for some reason within Unity. So we're going to go do that, and I'm also going to. No, that's fine. So we'll go ahead and let that go. Let's adjust this curve so that we get a little bit more of an extreme, as much as we can at least. So right about there. Okay. So we'll let that compile. That should have pretty decent rotation and scaling now. I'm a little concerned that I'm going to have to do some more advanced framing or keyframing for our scale curve if I want it to behave in a somewhat more believable way, but I might have to basically like kind of do a rapid one and then a taper off. So let's actually try that. Something like this kind of, which itself is a little too extreme, right about there. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay. So hopefully that won't be too noticeable. That little bump there, you'll notice that it's not a perfect curve, but that might be okay. So let's go ahead and also bump this scale duration to 15. Gives us a happy medium from where it was. And I actually, in all this time, I have not been paying attention to see if it will show up properly for our rendering. So hold on, I'm going to go ahead and say maximize on play. SOS. Clip. Fly. Turn. Oop, not too in. Turn left. Over here. Rotate. Rotate. So no clip. Touch. Okay. Oof. I do think it was noticeable. Oh, shoot. Also, I did totally see the render texture very briefly. Um, that is interesting. Let's go ahead and go down to loading container view, game area, room, camera. Are you moving somewhere? Okay. Okay. Should I set you not to clear then? Or do I want to do depth only, I guess? Yeah. Okay. Wow, that creates a really interesting effect. Oh, man. That's actually really awesome. Okay. That's really cool. Um, so I'm gonna turn off maximize on play so we can see this play out while I make some adjustments. Let's make this a radius of 0.5, 0.5, I'm gonna say. Oh, that's so cool. It's like something out of Max Headroom. Actually, it made me think of Gygus from Earthbound. Okay, so that's pretty cool. And we're gonna kind of cheat here. So this is what it looks like when it's unscaled. I just want to see what this looks like in motion. Huh. So yeah, it is a little awkward to have the jumping for the rotation. Because if it's in distinct steps like that, it does come off as a bit strange. I feel like it's kind of hard to tell what's going on, actually. Um, I think that might extend from the fact that it's centered on its rotation, or rather, it's not centered on the hero. So probably what I should do is instead of having the heroes all fan out like that, I should have them spiral out from the center of the original hero. I think that would make it a little bit more clear what's going on, because right now it's kind of weird. And paired with this totally awesome effect, does not really help us very much. So if I make that solid color, we get nothing very good. If we make it skybox, we don't get anything good. If I make it depth only, we get that. If we get don't clear, I'm sure that makes it a nightmare and it makes it impossible to work with. Let's turn this to depth only. Why would you not clear? Maybe I need to make the depth 10? How about -5? Okay, okay. Well, so that's a little interesting. Um, so, yeah. Also, I think my rotation is skipping its last one. So it should be left, top left, but I think it's jumping to the top right. It is. Okay. Okay. So, yeah. Um, it is good that our twirling is happening in the same direction as the hero's rotation. That's a happy coincidence. Um, so that means we do want to have clockwise rotation on this. And also, I apologize. I'm kind of just like looking at this to get a sense of what I want to do with this. So we need to set our camera to use depth only clearing. We're fine with a 60 FOV. I don't think we need to change that. Clipping planes are fine. Viewport rect is all fine. Yeah, I think that's okay. Probably what we want to do here is we need to have a little bit of a delay on the twirl effect and a little bit of a delay um, on the hero rotation after images, in the sense that we don't want them to show up off screen, which most of them are doing. So we're not really getting to appreciate it. It is. I think those are the two big takeaways that I would have there. Okay. Excuse me. Yawn. So I'm going to make those adjustments, and I really want to get a screenshot of this. Oh, dang it, I clicked! Dang it! Oops. Well, okay, guess I'm not. Let's try that again then. We want to go to splash fade. All right, so we're gonna go down here. Sorry, wrong thing. Wrong thing. Turn on our UI. Go to loading. Minigame area. Secret planes. All that fun stuff. We're gonna go to the room. We're gonna set this to be depth only. It is a little distressing because you'd think that solid color would actually be fine, but it's not for some ungodly reason. Maybe it's because the background color. I don't know. Let me come back to here because that totally seems like it should work. I wonder if I can change this to something that's a little bit easier because I don't really care about alpha or anything like that. But I don't actually need the depth buffer either. So it was 24. Oh yeah, no depth buffer. Buffer cuts that by half. That's good. Color format, that's all fine. Dimension 2D, that's all fine. Filter mode by linear is fine as well. Perspective, solid color, UI, UI. Okay, so we're gonna set that up. We're gonna come back up to here. We're gonna have. Oh right, hold on. My rotation is borked. If rotation index is great. Here we are. I need to say is greater than rotation steps. I'm going to say greater than or equal to rotation steps. Rotation index is equal to 0. That's all fine. Yes, that's what I want. Okay. Then we're going to come up to here. We're going to have twirl delay. Yeah. Sorry, I'm kind of thinking through how I want to do this. So let's go ahead and say serialize field tooltip private float twirl delay is equal to, I'm gonna say 3 seconds by default. That's probably too short. Delay before the background twirl happens. Okay. Scale duration, don't need a delay on that. I don't think we need one on rotation either. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and say, so here's our twirl. We're gonna say before this, we're gonna say if twirl, can't do that. Hold on. We're gonna come back up to here. Twirl lerp, private float, twirl cooldown. We're back. Cooldown is equal to 0f. We're going to go ahead and say twirl cooldown is equal to twirl delay. So I'm going to say if twirl delay is less than or equal to 0f. Go ahead and grab this. Then we're going to say if that. Wow, what the frig? Copy that. If that. There we go. Okay. And then we're going to say else. Twirl delay. Minus equals time dot delta time. Pretty straightforward there. So that should give us our initial offset. It should also handle not showing the twirl until a few seconds in. Okay. I think we're good there. Let's go ahead and collapse this. Just go ahead and we'll let that compile, and then I'll hit apply. And that should fix the rotation skipping and give us a little bit more of an insight in the twirl effect, which is nice. I am a little concerned for the magic background, but I think we'll be okay. Let's go ahead. Excuse me. All right. So we're going to go ahead and hit apply here. Everything else should be fine. Let's go ahead and we're just going to turn this off. Hit save. We're going to jump over to the sewers and see how this looks. Because there are a couple of other techniques that I could use if I want to make the swirling feel more extreme. One technique would be to have the hero rotate in place from its center instead of from its bottom. That will make it seem like it's falling and spiraling. If it's done like what I'm doing, it feels more like a windmill situation, which is, I think, why it's not feeling quite right. It could also be possible for me to put the hero on the edge and rotate its like a pivot point for it so that it looks like it's kind of swirling. Think like toilets, basically. That could work, but that would be a little bit maybe weirder. So we'll see. So we have our initial. Okay, there it is. We don't have our twirl happening yet. Now we're starting to get it. Okay, you can extreme. It's getting more extreme. I'm liking this. It's also clearing, which is nice. Okay. That is super confusing to me, but sure, whatever. So it seems like setting it to depth only has solved our problem. It does seem like our twirl is... I'm a little sad because the previous technique actually, I think, looked a little bit better. It looked like it was constantly swirling, whereas this kind of looks like they're just kind of awkwardly, well, being twirled before they go back to their original paths. Um, but I do think this works pretty well. You can see that our rotation is actually pretty nice here. Still not quite what we want though, so I think we are going to want to have um, yeah, a little bit of an offset on this, just a little bit. Okay. Um, hmm. So yeah, I think that we want to have our rotation be smooth. I don't think we want it to move in steps like this, just because when contrasted with the smooth magic in the background, it feels weird. And it just doesn't feel quite right. I do like the repeated, falling into the background though. I think that looks pretty good. Um, but I do think we want to smooth out our rotations, and I also think that we do want to have it be rotated from the center of the hero, not from the bottom like it currently is doing, just because that will free things up. The downside to that is that it reduces our number of heroes that are shown. Actually, it's not really a downside. This is just an observation. It reduces our number of heroes that are shown from 7 to 3. We'll have the primary one, uh, a secondary, and a tertiary one, but we won't need any more beyond that because then it'll just start getting confusing. Um, but everything else should basically fall in line with that. I do want to pause real quick. I'm going to turn off maximize on play. And I'm going to go over here to our, let's see, loading container, open this all up. I am... Oh, so yeah, it was the color. It was the alpha on the color, specifically. That's really freaking weird. Okay. So if we change that from that to depth only, we get this effect. Oof, it just blew up. Okay. Which is obviously a bit extreme. If we set this back to solid color, it's actually not that bad. In fact, this kind of probably should go up even further. Ah, man, I don't know. That actually is kind of worse. 0.6 versus 0.6. Can we do like 0.8 so we get a wider one? Not really. 0.6. If they're not equal, it kind of looks wrong. Um, hmm, hmm, we do want the center to be in the actual center, so 0.5, 0.5 is good. But, okay. Well, something I can do to test this real quick, to test my rotation theory, I'm going to go ahead and grab our hero. Let's go ahead and hit F here so we can look at it. We're going to set its pivot to be 0.5. So that'll move it over here to the center. And then I'm going to turn off these three, and I'm going to center these guys. So they will also have 0.5. Notice that that's a little wrong right now because these need to be 0.5, 0.5. Okay, we're going to have those jump in. And then I'm just going to adjust their alpha so that it's something more reasonable. So this will probably be something like 125. Actually, probably something like 150. And then our second one would be something like 50. Okay, so this is what this setup would look like. Which is not bad. But it's also a little visually confusing. Because it kind of looks like there's just one person in the center, and he's got two heroes strapped to his back, which is a little weird. Um, huh. This might be an issue that I have to. Well, no. You know what? Let's try making it smooth. I guess instead of it evaluating in steps. Unfortunately, that is not something I can adjust at runtime because I'm pretty sure I can't adjust that private value. Yeah. Boo hoo. Okay. Well, that sucks. And then I guess I'm going to go ahead and say stop here. So this is going to be a little bit more of an interesting issue. Um, so, jeez. No. Well, yeah, okay. So I think if we make the rotation smooth, we will have a better time uh, differentiating the rotation after images from the original, because they should, in theory, basically color correct. Although, man, this is going to be super awkward. Um, so I need a few other things to be included. Oh, yeah, okay. So we're going to say serialized field, private. Well, that won't work using TM Pro. Text Mesh Pro UGUI hero label. And I kind of need that for the after images as well. That gets super uncomfortable. Okay. Um, yeah, gross. Okay. So we're essentially going to do. I think we're going to change this from game objects to Text Mesh Pro UGUIs. They will no longer be enabled or disabled as we go along. So we're going to kind of just reset all of this. We're just going to comment this out for now. And I'm going to say we don't need a rotation delta anymore. Instead, we are going to keep up with rotation duration, which is no longer a thing. So we're just going to go ahead and say serial. Well, it's not no longer a thing. It's not a thing yet. So we're going to say private float. Rotation duration is equal to 0f. That's terrible. This is how many times we want it to rotate. Well, no, this is how long it should take to rotate once. I'm going to say 5 seconds. It's a little awkward. Tooltip. How long it takes for the hero to rotate once. Okay. Then we're going to say rotation cooldown is probably what we... No. Rotation lerp. Float. Rotation lerp is equal 0f. Okay, we're going to come down to here. And we're just going to say if rotation lerp is less than 1f, else rotation lerp plus equals rotation duration. I'm sorry, is equal to 0f. And then we're going to say rotation lerp plus equals time dot delta time divided by rotation duration. And then we're going to say hero parent dot local rotation is equal to quaternion dot Euler based off of new based off of new vector 3. Then we're going to come up to here. We're going to do pretty much the same thing we're doing down in scale, where we're just going to say float rot is equal to math f dot lerp from 0 degrees to 360 degrees based off of rotation lerp. Okay, we're just going put that in there and say, actually, you know what? I don't need that because I only need it on the z-axis, so I can actually straight up get rid of that and say 0f, 0f, and that. Okay. Now that should work. So let's go ahead and see if it does. The hero label stuff, by the way, is going to be done here. It's a little awkward where I'm going to say color fave color is equal to session dot favorite color, and then we're just going to go ahead and say hero label dot color is equal to fave color, and then we're just going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than hero after images dot length I plus plus, and then we're just going to say after images of I dot color is equal to new color based off of fave color dot r, fave color dot g, fave color dot b, and then after images of I dot alpha. Okay. That should give us freaking ridiculous. Hold on. I think it's I always forget what my line of code is for this. There we go. Global variables dot hex to color. I'm sorry, not that. Color extensions dot hex to color based off of global variables dot color check based off of that. And then false. And I believe that's good enough. Okay. So that should work. Let's go ahead and let that compile. We'll have to reassign some stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over to splash fade. Taking a drink real quick. And okay, turning that on, grabbing all the fun stuff. We're gonna make that just 2. It's gonna be these 2 specifically, which will now be turned on and will no longer be at that. Real quick so I can see what I'm doing. Which also will be at 0.5. Okay. Set you to 150. Set you to 50. Pretty good. No, I think we're good. So let's go ahead and do that. Excuse me. We do now need our scale to be probably something like 250. Nope. Cool. We're looking at 500, aren't we? Not 5,000. That's ridiculous. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Why do you insist on it being so difficult? Alright, fine. 200, 200, 200. Can I just get a little... Can I cheat just a little bit? Just give me a little bit of a cheat. Yeah, okay. I know that was dumb, but okay. We're gonna leave it like this for now. Probably what I'll have to do is some sort of like easing to kind of like push it to the left and up a little bit, and then I'll just kind of like move that into the center as it scales. But yeah, it's fine for now. Okay, so that's that. Let's go ahead and set this back to 0. I think we have everything set. Oh, right, I almost forgot. We need our hero label right there. Okay, looking good. All right, so let's go ahead and hit apply. Then we'll give this one more shot, and I think we'll call it a night. So let's go ahead and save. Jump over to the sewers. Hit play. And let's see what happens. I really don't know if I want to have the camera clear by depth or not. I am torn. Turn left. Okay. Rotate. Rotate. Turn off no clipping. Touch. Okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking is that I would do. Oh, shite. Really? Oh, no. What did I do? What did my terrible code do? What did my terrible, terrible, terrible code do? I did something stupid, didn't I? Ah! Knew it. I knew I did something stupid. Of course. Freaking ridiculous. Ugh. Plus equals 0. It's always something. So one more time, because I do want to see it in action before I render my judgment. Okay. Let's let that happen. Blast backwards. Left. Rotate. Nice. So maybe it's an ordering issue? I guess there wouldn't really be a good way to do that. So maybe I want to invert the colors. So instead of having the top label be solid, which actually is not what's happening, is it? It's because they're semi-transparent. So never mind, that doesn't actually work. Um, crap. Yeah, okay. And it's rotating the wrong way again. Right? Yeah. Yeah, what the freak? Time out. Oh, dang it, it's because I forgot to do the rotation to be negative. Dang it. Negative. Okay, so one more time through, and we'll be good. I just want to make sure that it looks right. It's not done, obviously, but I'd like to see what it looks like with proper rotation and all that. So I think the main thing to do here will be to fine tune the actual twirl effects, but I'm pretty happy with them. Um, I do like that the magic is it starts twirling in the background. I do like that the character rotation is twirling in the same direction. or at least it will be now. Yeah, I just think we're onto a good track here. Now the question here is um, one that I did not really do a good job with, which is I don't really have a good way for text to be displayed there. So I'm going to have to kind of visit that. Um, it might be a situation where I actually have the text be the background instead of the words magic, but we'll see. Rotate. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. Looking pretty good. We're getting our distortion happening. Nice. Ooh, the pop in. Pop in is real bad. But that has to do with us positioning it too. So okay. So yeah, that works pretty well. Um, Maybe I should just get rid of the after images. I feel like they don't really work very well when it's smooth like this. Let me go ahead and pause. Let's open that up real quick. Loading, view, root, minigame, loading, root. Foreground, hero, hero. Let's turn these off. So this is what it would look like if it was just the hero. Meh. It doesn't look bad. It admittedly does look a little bland. I don't know. It's a little hard to say, admittedly. Yeah. All right. I think that's something I'm just gonna have to mess with. So I do kind of like it though. Um, okay. So I think we're gonna call it a night there. Um, so announcements. I should be streaming this Thursday. That's on schedule. I will not be streaming, as a reminder, this weekend. I have a friend coming in from out of town, so I'm not going to be able to do my Devstream. Um, the following week, I should be back up and running. So I should be back, next week at our normal times, and I should be good for this Thursday at our normal times. But I think that's the only announcements that I have off the top of my head. So, yeah. So, as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.